and welcome back to Catholic Mom and Daughter. I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and today we are giving you a peek inside our reading journals.
So it's no secret here just how much we love books. We're always talking about some book or another in one of our videos. But how do we keep track of all the books that we read? Well, the answer obviously is reading journals.
Yeah, so we each keep a journal here, and today we're going to talk about how we got started, how long we've been doing this, and our preferred method or style. As you'll see, our styles are very different.
So without any further ado, let's get started.
So we think it's really fun to keep a reading journal because then you can easily look back and say, well, how many books did I read this year? Or when did I read a particular book? But when did we start keeping our book journals? Well, for me, very sadly, the answer is not until 2015. I let years go by without writing down everything that I was reading. So missed opportunities. It wasn't until 2015 that I read a blog post from another avid reader who said she'd been keeping her journal since she was 7. So I was really late to the game.
And I started in late 2018 when you gifted me this little red journal, and I just started using it simply because I had it and I thought it sounded cool to track all the books I was reading, even though it actually wasn't very many at the time.
So now let's take a look at the mechanics of our reading journals. What do they look like on the inside?
Well, firstly, I think it's safe to say that we do not use the same system. Our journals look vastly different.
Yes, they do. And you know, it's so funny, we didn't even realize it until a few weeks ago when I saw Kate printing all this stuff out, and I said, what are you printing? And she said, book covers. And I said, why? And she said, well, for my book journal.
So after that, we were kind of like surprised, so we sat down and started to compare our reading journals just to see how the other keeps hers.
Oh my gosh, they are so different. Kate's is like a work of art and mine is completely no frills. It's more like a grocery receipt.
And that's not the only difference. Also, for example, I don't record the books that I read for school in here. I only record the books that I read for fun.
But I got a late start, like I said, so I'm recording every single book that I read in this book to make up for lost time. So we're going to go ahead and take a look inside mine first. All right, first of all, where did this little green book come from? It was actually given to me in a box of stuff that had about 30 of these blank little notebooks. Someone thought, oh, your kids might like to scribble in these. They could have fun with them. And I thought, ooh, I could have fun too. I could finally start a reading journal. So that's how I came to have this particular one. So how does my journal work inside? Well, roughly I have a page for every month. Usually I'll read 6 or 8 or 10 books maybe in a month. And so that's generally plenty of space because I only record the title of the book. Sometimes I'll put the author's name, and then sometimes if I'm feeling really energetic, I'll put happy face if I like the book, or frown if I thought it was not very good. But that no frills style has really allowed me to keep up with what I'm reading, even on super busy days or during super busy seasons. I don't feel overwhelmed. I can just jot down the title. I also only record books that I have finished, and I record them in the month that I finish them. For me, I don't know, it just gives me a sense of satisfaction to know that I finished this book, and so it deserves to be written down in my journal. I don't want to jump the gun. What if I don't finish the book? But other people have different styles, and that's perfectly fine also. The only thing is that can be a little misleading. For instance, if you look in my journal for December of 2021, you'll see written down the Bible, and it says the whole thing. Obviously, I didn't read the whole thing in the month of December. I read it over the course of the year with Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a Year, but that's when I finished it, so that's when I entered it into my reading journal. So now I'm going to do a down shot and just show you how that plays out in real life, what the pages look like. So here is my extremely minimalist reading journal. As you can see, In the beginning, I tried to use different colored inks because, and don't laugh, I thought that maybe it would look more authentic. You know, I really read different books. I used different ink, you know. I didn't use the same pen to record every title. But then quickly I decided, like, who cares, right? So I went with black ink, and you can see that sometimes my writing is messy. I scribbled, I just, you know, crossed things out. Not super tidy or organized on the inside. But again, this system has worked for me, and I've kept it up now for 7 years. So I think that's, you know, pretty good. I definitely plan to keep on doing my book journal, but wait till you see Kate's journal. Hers is a masterpiece. It really puts mine to shame, and I'm okay with that because everybody operates differently.
So I'm going to start first by talking about where I started with my reading journals. And like you saw, it would be this little red one, which I have to say is a good reading journal for those just starting. It has everything laid out for you already. So it has like title, author, start date, end date, and then just a little bit of space at the bottom, which worked really well for me because I typically didn't have very many thoughts on the books that I read at that point. And this one for me went from like late 2018 to June of 2021, and actually over half of this is from 2021. So this one was a good journal, and if it's still available on Amazon, I will have it linked down below if you're curious. But when that one ran out of space and I finished it up, I decided that I wanted a bigger journal that would last me longer. So that's how I ended up here. I was very inspired by YouTube videos on reading journals to create my own. So this was just a blank notebook that I took and made my reading journal, and I could just customize the whole thing, and I really, really loved that. So this one runs from June of 2021 up to the present day. So as we're filming this, May 2022. So let me take you into a down shot and I'll show you the ins and outs of this journal. All right, so this is my journal in all its glory. And just first off, I have a title page. Like I said, I started it in June 2021, and whenever it's done, I'll write the month and year on the other side. And then first up, I have this set of graphs, and these are for genre, format, and source, just like it says. And so whenever I record a book, I record these 3 things and then just mark the graph. So I have a bunch of different genres over here. I have the 4 standard formats over here. I don't typically read graphic novels, so that's not on here. And then I also have source, so like library, I bought it new, I bought it used, it was a gift, etc. And you'll notice the red and the blue, and that is for the 2 different years in this journal. So books recorded in 2021 are in the red ink, and books from 2022 are in the blue ink. And if this one were to happen to go into 2023, I would find a different color for that year. And then right after that, we just jump into the book spreads. So every book has a different spread, and the format hasn't changed terribly much, but you can see here that I only have format and source listed and not genre, and I added that later on. So let me find one of those spreads. Okay, here we go. So we have, for example, Margo's Diary by Karina Turner. And you can see this is a very good example of my standard spread now. I have the book name, the author's name, the started and the finished date, because I do mark when I start and when I finish. And then I have the format, source, and genre, which corresponds back to the graphs. Then I have my star rating, and I don't like draw out a bunch of stars and then color them in. That way I can get more specific stars like 4.5 or 4.75. And then I just have a section where I write down my thoughts. And obviously I also print out the covers and glue them in. I just think that brings something a little bit extra to the page. You'll also notice that up here at the top, I have numbers, and that is something that I started in 2022, just writing the number so I can see which number book this is. So like this would be approximately the 30th book that I read this year. Then if we flip to the back of the journal, I have a list of books that I want, a list of series to finish. And then also over here, I had this little reading plan when I was trying to finish all these books before the end of the year. I wrote them out in here so I could see what to read every single month. And then also in the back, I do keep the covers that I use to print out. I batch print them so I'm not wasting paper. And so I just glued this little pocket in the back and I store them in here. The only other thing of interest is my little bookmark that I have here, which also doubles as a pen test page. As you can tell, there's tons of scribbles on here. But the interesting thing about this is that it exactly corresponds to the size of one of the covers. So if I'm filling out a page and I don't have the cover printed out yet, I can place this down so I know exactly where to stop writing my thoughts. And then when I print out the cover, I will actually have space. Because if you go back into last year, I end up with things like this, where I have covers sideways, or covers are like super tiny or something weird like that. Yeah, like over here. I finally had to standardize my cover size, and I made the bookmark correspond so I wouldn't end up with a bunch of wonky covers. And I also, if you haven't noticed, I tend to color coordinate the covers to the pens, which, yes, that is so extra, but it's very, very satisfying to flip back through. And sometimes I completely miss the mark, like this is purple and this is blue, but I do it as best I can, and I find it very, very satisfying. So that is my reading journal. It's kind of dirty, as you can tell, but I love it. I always have it out. I'm always doing something in it, and I would never go back.
So that's a look inside our two very different reading journals.
And I've really loved having mine, I have to say, especially since starting YouTube. It makes our book review videos a whole lot easier because I can just flip back and see what I wrote and go from there.
I have to say, I am really jealous of Kate's beautiful journal.
You can do this. It's not that hard.
I think my no-frill style evolved from just not having a whole lot of extra time, but also I don't even think I realized you could do things like that.
This does not take a lot of time, actually.
I actually did buy a better, nicer journal for myself a couple of years ago, but as you can see, I have written just about nothing. I have not written anything in it at all, because then I thought, should I abandon this journal? It's not even halfway full. So, or should I transfer everything from here into here, which also seems kind of awkward. It would be all the same style, the same ink, for 7 years. That doesn't seem right either.
So let her know down in the comments what she should do.
I don't know what to do.
Transfer, start over,
yeah, this can keep going for another 7 years at my current
10
pace.
years later, I finished it.
Yes, yeah, I don't know what to do. So let us know what you think I should do.
And also let us know if you keep a reading journal, like what style do you use? How do you set up your system?
Yeah, we love to know what you guys are up to. If you have any suggestions, or if you have something really interesting and amazing, tell us all about it.
So we hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.